Hi everyone, it's Sunday night, and you know what that means? I'm finally home! Woohoo! Nothing against the conference, it was great, but I was pretty sick of Vegas by the time I left. But let's talk about the good things, let's talk about the conference. So, how was Friday? Friday was my last day, it was a half day, so I only got to see 3 sessions, but they were all really good. I started out with Dan Steer's talk on practical usages of social media for training. Dan's someone I've hung out with at conferences before. He's a really great guy, and I was excited to finally get to see him speak. He's a really energetic speaker, well worth checking out if you have a chance. One of the really important points that I got out of his talk is how important it is to focus not on the social media tools themselves, but on the problem you're trying to solve. So you don't want to do that thing where you get so hung up on a tool that you try and shoehorn everything into it. Instead, really work out the problem and only then start looking at, okay, well, which tools in particular would be right to solve it. Another thing that I got, because I'll be honest, as much as he said don't focus on the tools, I was there for the tools. Dan does a lot of really great checking out of different apps and has some really good recommendations, so I was hoping he'd have some new ones. And the thing that I learned that I hadn't expected to was actually about a tool I already used, and it's one that he recommended in the past called Ginkgo. It's kind of an outlining tool, and I've used it in the past for actually outlining some of my session talks. And he actually recommended using it with multiple other people to come up with ideas. And I'd never really thought about using that tool in a social way. I don't think they even advertise it as a social tool, but it definitely can be. And that was a really great way of, relooking at a tool I already knew. So then I followed that up with Michelle Lentz's talk on fearless instructional design, learning from the imagination of Jim Henson. And this is a talk I'd actually been trying to see for the past year and a half, I think. And nothing ever went right every time I tried to see it. So one time we were scheduled at the exact same time at a conference. Another time we were both supposed to be at the same conference, and then she couldn't make it. And so finally got to see this talk. And it was a lot of fun. Michelle made a lot of fantastic points about how we in learning and development really should be learning from other fields. Now, in this case, we were looking at the field of, working with puppets. But she actually talked about how, this isn't the only other field we can learn from, that we should be looking outside of our industry all the time for new ideas. Another thing she talked about was this idea of not letting the learners see almost backstage. And she talked a bit about how, with Muppets, they create a lot of illusions. And, you don't see the back end of that. You don't see people's hands jammed up a puppet. Yay. And it's magical because we don't see all that back end stuff, but it doesn't mean the back end stuff's not there, we're just not seeing it. So there's this idea of that's something that we should be doing for our learners too, is not to let them see all the back end stuff that may in many projects be kind of a mess, and just let them see the magical front. And another thing that I got out of this, and this wasn't a point she made directly, but how important it is to have fun with what you do. Michelle clearly loves Muppets, she clearly loves her job. And to see her talk about something she cared about so much was just so fantastic. And I really got a lot out of it because of her enthusiasm. Finally, I wrapped up the day with the keynote, which was Katie Linendahl talking about using social media or media skills for training. And my understanding is that she is a tech journalist. I've never seen her before, but really, really liked her talk. I'm now following her on Twitter because she's kind of awesome. So one of the things she talked about was being a lifelong learner. And, okay, probably preaching to the choir. It's a whole bunch of learning people who are at a learning conference. We're probably already big on lifetime learning. But she talked about how, it had really directly opened a lot of doors for her that she wouldn't have guessed when she started picking up the skills she did. And maybe that's something for us to keep in mind. The idea that, pick up new skills even if you don't 100% know where they're going to lead you. Kind of love that part of the talk. I mean, I love learning stuff, and maybe there will be some use for some of the crazy stuff I've learned over the years someday. Another thing she talked about was thinking about your audience, and this is something that I talk a lot about in my talks too, is that we can't just tell things the same way to every audience and expect to be equally effective every single time. So know your audience and adjust. Then another thing, and this is a little bit like what I was talking about with Michelle's talk, is this underlying current of enthusiasm. Katie Linendahl clearly loves what she does. When she talks about tech, she lights up, and that enthusiasm is infectious. And so that's something that I don't know how we can always do this in our training, but it's something to keep top of mind, is how do we let our enthusiasm for what we're teaching come across? And because when we can do that, our learners take note and they get excited too. So that was the conference. It was really great. Loved the keynotes. The keynotes were particularly great this year. And I kind of liked in this, I don't know if this was a purposeful thing or not, in a lot of conferences we talk about diversity and how important it is. And I felt like ATD really just went, yeah, we get that diversity is important. We're going to show a whole bunch of really amazing people, showcase women in tech, and instead of always having the women doing keynotes talking about diversity, it was just, let's show diversity by showing women who are in tech right now, and I loved that. The thing I think I got the most out of at this conference this year was the conversations I had. So nothing against the keynotes and nothing against the concurrent sessions, they were amazing. But the thing that I think is going to affect my work when I get back on Monday the most are the conversations I had with other speakers, people who I just bumped into in the hallway. There were some really lovely people who tracked me down because they had seen me on Twitter or followed my blog. We had some amazing conversations, did a lot of brainstorming, and that's the most valuable thing for me. Another thing that's kind of connected to that are these unplugged sessions that were at the conference this year. And I know they're an experiment. They're still kind of figuring out what to do with them. I really hope that TechKnowledge has these again. It was this great, more informal opportunity to sort of bounce ideas off of other people in the profession, and also to let conversations be slightly guided by a topic, but then just kind of go where they needed to go. JD Dillon did a really amazing job facilitating one on Thursday, where he, made sure the talking was, moving forward, but didn't try and force it towards any direction. It was great. So definitely an experiment they're still trying to figure out, but I would love to see this again. So that was the conference for me. I hope everyone had a really great time. I had a great time meeting people. Was so glad that so many people came and said hi to me. If you don't know, I am a very shy extrovert. So it is amazing when people come to me and start talking to me, because I am sometimes a little terrified of going up to people I haven't met in person yet. But lovely, friendly people there. Really enjoyed the talks and really enjoyed the back channel. So I will definitely be doing some more of these videos again. I'm really liking the format, and I can definitely promise that I'll be doing these videos for Learning Solutions in March, which is the next conference I'm going to. Have a great night.